Welcome back to the Rizz Show. Dr. Lori's here. Our good friend, our dear friend, the official psychologist of the Rizz Show.
We are really.
She's at least our dear friend currently.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all so happy to see you, and so nervous.
No, why? So she was in about a year and a half ago, and it didn't go great as far as fighting goes, and So sometimes it's hard to hear stuff about yourself. Maybe some stuff you didn't know about yourself.
Or stuff you kind of knew, but you really didn't want to admit.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding,
out
ding.
loud.
But I feel like we're a lot more mature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the year and a half, we have definitely matured. And I think we're ready to handle what the doctor is about to tell us. So we took these kind of in-depth personality examinations. And would you like to explain the methodology here?
Sure. Yeah. So this was one personality assessment. It's highly supported by research and it's evidence-based.
Mm-hmm.
This personality assessment is used by clinicians for a variety of reasons, clarifying diagnoses, trying to use like a differential diagnostic workup on clients. It looks at diagnosing psychopathology in adults and adolescents, and it's used for treatment planning.
So are any of us in this room a true clinical psychopath?
If you look at the definition of the word psychopath, the answer is no.
That's good.
Did all of us just go?
Good.
That's surprising.
Actually, my heart stopped for a second.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say, yes, one of you is a psychopath. Woo!
Well, I would say that one of you did endorse some behaviors that are essentially described as being like a psychopathic deviant. So
Okay.
meaning that
That sounds almost worse. You're a psychopathic deviant. Okay.
one of you, I sort of summarize the term as a nonconformist, but I don't really like the term psychopath because in the layperson terminology that carries a lot of negative stereotype with it.
Right. So, and I'll kind of preview mine a little bit, because we had discussed things prior to you coming on. So I have aspects of paranoia, but not like a paranoia where I'm like looking out the window, creeping out the window because I think, somebody's going to raid the house. There's other things that are in my head that I'm not waiting for little green men, to come and
Right, that level of paranoia.
probe me,
Right, that level of paranoia really is what you see more in people who are actively psychotic, people who are hallucinating or who have delusional
I don't have
thoughts.
that.
Right, no.
I don't have that. Well, who would you like to start with?
Let's start with Moon.
All right,
I have
Moon.
Yeah.
We'll probably need to spend the most time on him.
Oh, stop it.
his client folder open here.
So Moon took the test, and this took us a while to do this test. By the
Yeah,
way,
it took me like 2 weeks.
It was a lot of questions, and it took a long time to really think about the answers, and because we really took it seriously.
Right. If in an outpatient clinical setting, this would absolutely be a full day assessment for each of you.
Oh, wow.
And with our answers, you could tell if we're lying or not.
Right. I was actually just going to say that one of the hallmark features of some of these more research-based personality assessments is that they have these validity scales that are designed to pick up on a client's willingness to disclose symptoms and difficulties. There are multiple scales in here that will identify if a client is lying, if they are malingering, if they're faking good, faking bad, faking certain kinds of psychopathology.
Right.
So we can immediately tell that kind of
And
thing.
we were all very truthful on
It
our.
was wonderful and very easy then for me to be able to interpret.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I'm sure you have patients come in that are not willing to open up.
exactly. So you see that on both ends. You see people who are very guarded and just not willing to disclose stuff because it's so uncomfortable. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you also see people who over-report symptoms, usually for some kind of secondary gain, like wanting disability or, variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick, and just expounding on it, like it's kind of awesome with public figures, especially like people on the radio, whatever, that build personas or brands and different things. I would really think that it'd be difficult to find a group of 4 people in show business to be that forthright with everything and say, put it out there.
This
go
is
for
also
it.
to show you guys that we are honest on the radio.
Exactly.
We are honest people on the radio. We're not putting on personalities. This is us.
We are an open book.
I throw it all. I lay it out there every day for you guys.
Yeah, I will say that there were a few things I noticed in your answers, and when I kind of briefly reviewed that, the feedback to me was, oh yeah, that's not new news.
Right. All right, so let's
So,
do
yeah,
Moon here. Here we go. Moon is.
Okay. Yeah. So Moon, also you endorsed things really openly and honestly. Your approach to taking this test was valid. And
Hey, thanks for starting with the positive.
the way I just want to explain the way that the test works is individuals read a variety of statements about somebody's functioning, their likes, their dislikes, various symptoms, etc. And they answer those questions true or false. So a question about you would be something, like, I like to be around people, yes or no, or true or false. And then
no.
Again, not a surprise.
And a lot of times, because you said beforehand, if there's like a complexity to the answer, because I like being around people sometimes, and sometimes I really don't.
Right.
You said what's truer more of the time.
Right, exactly. It's really easy with these kinds of questions to sort of start to kind of overthink it.
Oh, yeah, especially for me.
Yeah, and you don't want to. And again, that's another one of the ways that we can look at validity, is because that question may be asked in a variety of ways. So I like to be around people. That's one question. Another question might be, I consider myself social. Another question might be, I enjoy being in the company of others. And so you take multiple questions.
All no's for me, by the way.
Exactly. And that's another way that we can tell.
Again, there's going to be no surprises.
I think some of our listeners could have taken the test for you.
So, so Moon.
Okay, so
Our dear Moon here.
Our dear Moon. Okay, so globally, Moon, I'm going to say that you. Sorry, I need to turn here because it's weird to not have eye contact. Generally, you have a very critical appraisal of yourself. You tend to see yourself in a very negative light. And it's almost as though you're trying to soothe an inner hurt. Like there's something.
Yeah.
I laugh when I'm nervous.
Wow, this is going so well.
So when I think about when we were talking briefly, when I met with you, just to let you guys know that I'd scored these tests and everything. It's like if you think about a person as like an onion, and there's layers of an onion.
Yeah.
This outside layer can appear very grandiose, very outgoing, very gregarious, but there's a hurt going on, and you have a desire to gain a lot of attention and for other people to see what you're doing, and you want to come across as like, hey, I got everything together, I'm all set, nothing can get me down. So you present this picture that you're really happy, and you come across as really energetic, really enthusiastic, really busy. And I have to say, even just in the 20 minutes I've been here in the studio, I think you came and went back 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I kind of chuckled thinking, yeah, it's that.
He always says he's busy.
Yeah.
And I always am. Am I not?
I don't know.
There's no falsehood to it.
I don't know.
Well, you probably actually are busy, but I think that's a coping mechanism for again, trying to soothe something that is deeper going on inside. Mm-hmm. So although you seem really self-confident, you might have this tendency to kind of overestimate your capabilities and overextend yourself with projects or activities, and then it might be kind of difficult to complete those or follow through with those. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we see pictures like that in adolescents and young adults who have ADHD. This sort of like, hey, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. But I think for you, it's not really like a neurological attentional thing. I think it's more a coping mechanism for kind of like, hey, I don't want to address this deeper hurt that's going on. So I'm going to just avoid thinking about that one. I'm going to kind of put myself on autopilot and go from activity to activity to activity.
So it's keeping busy to not deal with the reality of his issues.
Precisely.
Huh.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it,
Thanks.
Dr. Scott.
That's an interesting mix.
So you have these episodes of a very low morale, a very like low mood. Some denial may be a little bit intensified during those periods of time. Kind of classically, that's what we see in people who are depressed, who have major depressive disorder, who get into these low periods of a really low mood. And I also see with you, the way you answered a lot of these questions is a pattern of a lot of interpersonal difficulty. What it seems to stem from for you is that you have this belief that you sort of failed to live up to some commitments, or failed to succeed, or failed to find something. And again, when you have this pattern of sort of overextending yourself and committing to too much, that gets reinforced all the time. You know, this sense of like, hey, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing things well enough. And then that pattern gets repeated by, again, kind of repeatedly overextending yourself and not living up to some kind of commitment.
Does this all seem like it's true there, Moon Man?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a dark dude. I get that, and I'm super focused on self-awareness and always knowing where I'm at, and I've always admitted to being a dark dude. I don't think I'm on my self-assessment here. I don't think I'm coping by staying busy.
Here's the denial part.
No,
just a river in Egypt.
Stop.
Am I right, guys?
I'm not coping by. I'm not staying busy to cope, in a way to ignore the darkness or sadness or any of that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm super aware of my sadness, and I'm doing things so I don't give the sadness the power all the time. Because sometimes I
So
actually...
you actually are aware of your tendency to do that then. That's great. That's good insight.
And the few people that I trust around me, I will say, hey, I'm super down, and I can't even explain it right now. Just so you know, heads up, I might be a little weird for the next day or two because something's just kind of got a hold of me, and I'm getting myself out of it. For me, it's a continual up and down, but I also know my limits, and I feel like I've actually sort of like built a life that is based on the strengths of knowing my lows and my highs, and sort of benefiting from both.
Absolutely.
Now, would you say Moon is the one that's detached from reality?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
What do I owe you, $1?
Dude. And you said I was critical. Like, I am hypercritical of everything, including myself, including people. And when you say like I overextend myself, I have like this not theory, but like kind of like my approach to life is like, you shoot high. Like I'll set a goal for myself that's beyond my skill level, so my skill level gets there. So it pushes me. You know what I'm saying? It's constantly pushing me. I set the bar so high for myself, and I set the bar super high for other people. So I get disappointed by other people all the time, and it bums me out.
And you're setting yourself up for that failure.
Yeah, I've been doing that since I was a kid. But
where do you think that's coming from?
I don't know. I mean, I've been betrayed, and that's left a hell of a scar. Even early, I mean, even like, elementary school friendships and stuff. If somebody betrayed me, I was like, dude, I trusted you. I was vulnerable to you, and you told my secret or something. I would write you off in an instant because I was like, dude, that is ultimate betrayal, and I won't stand for it. I hate that. I despise it.
In summation of this guy here, what would you say? 2 sentences.
Detached. 2 sentences, not words.
Moon has some unusual thoughts, some unusual beliefs, some kind of strange and puzzling ideas. And I think that I get the sense that comes from a lot of difficulty with mood management, that you have these real extremes, these very high highs, these very low lows. And you... Exactly like you were saying, on a very core level, you've been really disappointed and let down.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon to see in people who've been adopted, because you feel very much on like a really low level that you were rejected. And then it's not uncommon to sort of come into the world seeing yourself as alienated from other people.
I do feel alone. I'm not lonely, but I'm alone. I've always felt very alone since I was a kid. But again, maybe this is my cynicism equals optimism sort of thing. I have always felt like I've turned that into good for me. That's like fuel for me. You know what I'm saying? Which is very strange, but the way that I'm completely admitting that I'm detached is I don't understand people feeling like they belong all the time, because I've never felt like I belong. Very well.
And do you have a lot of conflict in interpersonal relationships? That's sort of the sense I would get. Especially in like either romantic relationships or very close close interpersonal relationships?
I wouldn't say necessarily, just because I've kept myself so guarded that I open myself on a completely extreme intimate level to so few people that I'm good. But when I do feel like I'm opening and trusting too many people, somebody will betray me or betray a trust or something in some way, and I'm just like, I was right. You can't trust these people. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you listen to my music and you really like care about lyrics and stuff, you will see the hurt. And I don't mean to a lot of artists like to capitalize on that and constantly sing about pain. I'm actually not singing about that.
Want to play the sad song for you?
But in depth. But in depth, I'm a pretty sad dude that's trying to take that and use that in a real sense of optimism. To me, the people that are around me, they're all like, trite optimism this line, trite optimism that line. Those are the fakest people I know, and I'm just trying to always be real. Always be real with myself, always be real with my world.
And your reality is you see the world as a really cynical place.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm extremely hopeful, extremely spiritual, and extremely truth optimism driven. And I think we've completely bastardized the definition of optimism in this current culture. But I see myself as a sad optimist.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, enough on this guy.
Okay.
We got to take a break. We got to take a commercial break. We'll come back. Who wants to go next? Let's do Patrico next. Can we do Patrico next?
Sure.
All right. I think we probably spend the most time on Moon anyway.
That was good. Thanks.
Dr. Lori's here with our assessments. Moon's out of the way. Patrico up next. Then we'll do Jeff and then me. Listen, we'll get back to the dick joke soon. Don't worry. The good doctor's here. Dr. Lori's here. The Rizz Show official psychologist. And we got through Moon.
Yeah, although
our personality assessments.
One show.
May I take 30 seconds to say one thing?
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, just in response, and I'll make this brief. In response to the adoption thing, when you said a lot of times that makes you feel rejected or whatever, I may have had that subconsciously or whatever. But I feel like my parents explaining it to me, I felt like I was chosen or selected, or I wasn't aborted, I wasn't here, I was put in this situation, adopted by these particular people, and given this childhood. So I felt like Steve Jobs has articulated that I felt like almost like a
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The orchestra's going. I gotta play off.
We gave him the 30-second time limit.
All right. I felt like a special calling, which I think.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sneed. My next client's here.
All right. I felt like a special calling or whatever, where I thought that there was I don't know, something put on my life where if I didn't deliver something huge or whatever, then yes, I was a disappointment. So I think that's where my standard for what people should be doing and what I should be doing and accomplishing is so big. I feel like I'm going to let down God or something. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're done.
That's intense. But I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to charge you more for going into my next client hour.
I do love how Dr. Lori just ended that with, that's intense.
Nothing to respond to that.
All right, next.
I think you're about done here.
All right, thanks.
You're done.
I just want to get that in there, man.
Okay. No, I get you.
That room saying make an appointment.
I don't feel rejected. I don't think.
All right, so yes, we took our personality assessments. Dr. Lori is giving us the results. Let's move on to Patrico.
So, Anthony.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
You are experiencing a lot of vague physical complaints. That can be caused by a variety of things, by excessive drinking, substance abuse, or an attempt to gain support and relief from a lot of pressures in life. You have... How do I put this in a kind way? I need to sort of moderate some of my language here. You
could say he's fat. Go ahead.
No, I'm certainly not going to say that.
Okay.
But you...
I mean, that is truthful.
You don't have fantastic adjustment to life stressors. And the way you respond to stress is in kind of this self-centered way where you like to... You want other people to notice some of your physical ailments, some of your physical complaints as a way to get some feedback, some response from people. Some of the questions that you answered indicate like a slight sociopathic approach to others. And what I mean by that is when we use the term sociopathic. That again, that's a word that in layperson language has a really negative stereotype. So I don't want to imply that. But what I mean by that is sometimes you don't show a lot of remorse for harming or hurting others. And on some level, you may even enjoy a little bit kind of seeing other people squirm.
Ooh. Boy.
That's pretty intense.
What a dick!
So, and the way you often appear to other people is very angry, very impulsive, and you may want to kind of manipulate other people through some of your physical complaints. So there are some kind of long-standing personality characteristics here that are going to influence your adjustment to stressors, like the way that you respond to stressors, how resilient you are versus not.
You know, this is validation for me, by the way, because everybody thinks I'm the angriest one on this show. I think it's that guy.
Oh, I definitely think you are wrong there, sir.
Gentlemen?
Why'd you fight about it?
Gentlemen?
I would say Patrico has more real anger. You have anger, but a lot of it is joking around anger.
See, I think I have more explosive anger. I think you're angry about a lot more things.
You both actually exhibit some irritability and anger.
No, I'm irritable.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, let's wait till we hear what she has to say about you.
We're chopping it up here.
Well, we are. I can't. I mean, you generally sit here in silence.
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying. See, there you go. Is defensive on there?
Oh, don't even.
I would say what's more interesting, Scott, was your tendency there to just turn the conversation back to yourself.
Well, that's fine. God.
But what's happened, Tony, is kind of over your lifetime here is you tend to view the world in a really negative manner. You've kind of developed this worst case scenario outcome to explain a lot of things.
That is completely true.
Okay.
I can 100% agree with that. I mean, how many times have I talked to you where, like, I'll sit there and I'll go, even something as simple as I bump my hand against the table and like, oh, I broke my finger. My finger is broken. I need surgery. And that's just one thing. Or, somebody will walk out of the room, or I'll walk out of the room, and I'll go, yep, they're talking about me back there. I know it. They're talking about me. Yeah, I have that thought a lot.
So you tend to catastrophize. Like you sort of assume everything's going to be a catastrophe, and you are very self-critical. So I'm not surprised that you just use that as an example, that in assessing other people's behaviors, other people's motives, you see it as like potentially harmful to you.
And his weight plays a lot into his
well, one could.
Where did you get that from?
One could deduce that. Really, what I'm putting together is that there are a lot of physical complaints.
Well, the physical aspect of
right,
things.
and a very self-critical nature. So you put that together, and that's sort of not surprising. What I will say also is that, Tony, one of the things that was kind of a pattern in the way you answered these questions is that you don't really express a lot of your hostility and anger overtly. You don't get it out. What you tend to do instead is you express a lot of resentment and anger kind of covertly, sort of on a much more subconscious level, again, via some of your physical symptoms. And there was a lot there that suggested that sometimes you emphasize physical problems to kind of control and manipulate others. So it might be because you want somebody to stay with you, or you want somebody to caretake for you, or you want somebody to bring something or do something. It might be, like, oh, I'm having this physical issue, so can somebody kind of do that for me?
What's funny is a lot of this has to probably do with growing up. I was not raised, but like as a babysitter, my grandma was a babysitter, like my babysitter, and I was the baby, and everything I wanted, I got. No matter what. And if I said my stomach hurt, she'd say, "What'd make you feel better?" And I'd say, "Cheetos." And she'd go, "Here's a bag of Cheetos." Right. So no matter what I wanted, I got.
Yeah. And that creates this sense of indulgence.
Right.
That she probably meant really well. Her heart was in the right place, but that's not ideal. You are very extroverted. You relate really easily with other people. Other people actually kind of see some poor social skills, but you actually really, that's not truly the case. You actually have good social skills. You just sometimes might not put your best foot forward. You make decisions easily. That was something that came up in the way you answered questions. So you don't sort of go back and forth and waver a lot. Sort of like once you make a decision, you feel pretty confident about that.
I agree with that.
And probably one of the most potent things here, I would say, that came out was just these feelings of long-standing personal inadequacy. And that was sort of something that I think might be worth looking into a little bit more. And,
I think anybody that knows me knows that is true as well.
We're running short on time. Let's do Jeff next.
I'm sure
Jeff next.
Yeah, there's not much here, so you could just gloss over me, I'm sure.
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot.
No, I wouldn't think.
Okay. All right.
Did you find anything out about yourself, Tony? Like, or is this like, yeah, that's all about right?
I mean, pretty much it was pretty spot on what I thought about. I mean, the anger thing is a little, like, I think, like I said before, briefly, I think that my anger, I explode a lot more. I go off the handle a lot more. But as far as, like, me being an angry person, I don't really think that. I'm generally a happy person.
Not what she said. Jeff.
Okay. So, Jeff, I will say I am a little bit concerned here. There's
All right.
quite
Good start.
Well, just about one thing. I mean, from
Okay.
No, just from a health perspective, I'm concerned about some substance abuse. I'm going to be honest there. If you were my patient who I were seeing, that's something I would definitely want to talk about and address treatment wise. So Jeff, the way you tend to come across is kind of immature, impulsive, very much a risk taker. So you often do things that other people don't really approve of, just sort of for the personal enjoyment of doing so. So like sort of just for kicks. You're a thrill seeker. You really sort of feed off of adrenaline rush. And even if something is dangerous or other people don't approve of it, you'll do it anyway.
Hitchhikers.
Except for,
and by the way, just to quantify substance abuse, like he's not like a cokehead or like a heroin addict.
No.
No,
I
right,
can take
right.
or leave that stuff.
Right.
No, absolutely. You're right that, some of these questions are just gonna ask they're not going to get into specific illicit substances. Right. It's going to say like, I have used alcohol to cope with sadness before.
Right.
Yes or
yeah,
no
I mean,
kind
it
of
could
thing.
Be alcohol,
Right.
I mean, you have a drink every night.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are really viewed as very rebellious. Again, very thrill-seeking, kind of into self-gratification. So sort of needing that adrenaline rush. Sometimes that leads to bad judgment, and you may behave in a way that's kind of self-centered. So I know you didn't like this word last time we spoke, but it came up again. And that's sort of a narcissistic and pleasure-oriented kind of hedonistic style. So when I was conceptualizing everything with your personality inventory, the name that sort of stuck out in my head was like kind of like the Jim Morrison type. So really into like what's going to feel good, what's going to be great right now in this moment, regardless of what the consequences are. So were you a really rebellious teenager?
No, not really. I was very much a mama's boy, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I mean, she passed when I was 15, so
okay.
Maybe that has something to do with going off the rails after that. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's true because, when we say teen years, I mean, it's hard to say if we're talking 12, 13 or
also
like
went to 3
17,
different high
18.
schools.
Yeah. Went to 3 high schools, yeah.
Why?
The first one was Vianney. I got kicked out of there for flunking a class, going to summer school, and then flunking another class at the semester, so they booted me out. And then Eureka was for I didn't, quote, live in the district anymore, which we didn't move, but it was after 3 fights in one semester.
Okay.
And I graduated from Lindbergh.
Okay, so I would say that is a rebellious teenager for getting kicked out of a school for fighting. That's not normal behavior. It's not abnormal, to have some interpersonal conflict as a teenager, but to be expelled for assault, that would kind of fit that bill. So some people might see you as like unreliable and irresponsible. That doesn't translate into every avenue though of your life, or like every sort of part of your life. So you might be very responsible as a parent, very responsible at work. But then there are other areas where you might be kind of unreliable.
Yeah, birthday parties for relatives. I'm always late.
Okay.
But the last birthday party I went to, and the nephew was like 5 or 6. I walked in. The first thing he said was, "You're always late."
Okay. You do make a very good
And
impression.
he showed up when he was 30. You're
That's
like,
true.
"Dude,
Yeah, that's
how
right.
late am I? 25 years.
Had this
Okay,
card
hey,
for a
gotcha.
6-year-old. It was all yellow. And
That's funny. Okay. You do make a really good initial impression on people. You're very outgoing, very gregarious, very sociable, like a likable guy, you know. And I will say one thing is you have absolutely no issues with anxiety or depression. So none of those kind of mood issues.
Look at you, Jeff.
hey, look at me go. It's because I'm high all the time, right?
Only you would know. But again, so you make a good impression. You don't struggle with like mood difficulties. You're not a huge worrier. You don't catastrophize. You generally believe that the world is a good place, and you generally believe that other people are trustworthy.
I would say there's a part of you that always worries about getting fired.
Oh,
You've
yeah,
been fired
absolutely.
so many times. So
That's true. Yeah.
Well, that would probably come from a history of being a nonconformist and maybe being impulsive and making some bad decisions. So again, it's sort of like it's this lack of thinking ahead of what are going to be consequences of this behavior. Like, hey, if I beat this kid up, there's the potential that I'll get expelled. You know, that's like at the adolescent level. Or, you know, hey, if I do this thing, I could get fired or arrested or whatever.
Or it's, hey, let me pick up this hitchhiker. There's a possibility I'm going to get murdered, but
Right. But if
forget
not,
it.
I did something good for
Forget
another
it.
human being. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why
That's a dumb
you're,
way of looking
you're
at it.
nice. She said, essentially, you're a nice person.
Yeah, that's going to get murdered.
All right, let's
Yeah.
do me.
So, I was going to see if there's any, but I will say one other thing that was actually a really common between Jeff and Tony was both of you guys actually have a need to be around other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Completely
true.
agree.
Oh,
yeah,
boy,
for
that
sure.
is-
Yeah. But ironically, we don't like being around each other, which is
No,
weird.
that's 100% true. Like 100% true.
And we're the opposite. We want to be alone.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Ex-
Rizz and I.
Yeah. You kind of didn't really have super, super, super strong feelings about it either way, or one way or the other.
I didn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, not that it
But I
Did
bet
I?
he did.
Yes. Very strong. Yeah.
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 All right, so
will.
let's
Okay.
get this done.
And then the only other interesting thing in conclusion that I want to say about Jeff is that he doesn't actually feel like he has many problems. So he's not going to be super motivated to change behavior in any way, and somewhat of a tendency to maybe blame other people instead of saying like, oh, hey,
Is that the narcissism?
yes.
You could have stopped during all the positive stuff. The boss said move on, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. I think that was pretty damn accurate.
There you go,
as a matter of
Jeff.
fact.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, now let's get to the ball of anger over here.
Okay.
Wow. She brought out a briefcase with your name in it. Just
And
you.
2 other therapists.
Yeah, we were just folders.
So my first question, I'm curious about your approach there of objectifying women in that real or fake.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
It's
So
for
you're-
He
entertainment
makes us do
purposes.
it. He makes us
What do you
it.
think that
It's for
comes from?
entertainment purposes.
Okay.
It's to entertain.
All right. So, Scott, off the bat,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say you don't have fantastic coping resources for sort of dealing with life stressors or frustrations or any kind of symptom, you know, depressed mood or being let down or whatever. So you tend to respond to most things with a lot of anger. So you are
Judges? Yep. Got it.
okay.
Yeah, if on the webcams you see all 3 of us just going, this whole time.
Yep.
So you're socially outgoing. You're energetic. You know, you make a great impression socially. In fact, that was a constant among the 4 of you, is that all 4 of you are really outgoing socially and make really good impressions. So, but the one thing that kind of stuck out, Scott, was after you make this good impression, you tend to then become moody and irritable. And you tend to expect other people to change to meet your demands instead of you seeing room for like where you might make a shift or where you might.
Why should I shift?
Yeah.
Did you get this off from this test? This is incredible.
Yeah.
Because you're nailing him right now. So not that way.
In a
but-
fast forward button, he's like, "Nice to meet you. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Can I cook you dinner? You know, if you don't like it, I hate you. I hate you."
All
and
right,
you...
keep going.
Hey, come on over for dinner. I'm not
going.
available tomorrow. They're not invited.
Keep going.
So you also have kind of an egocentric focus.
Okay.
And a really good social facade. I will say that. But that social facade kind of fails under stress. And you're kind of masking and fighting against other conflict, which can be a little bit of a challenge and sort of drain you of your resources. So it's like at the end of the day, you know, you probably often go home pretty irritable, pretty stressed, pretty spent because you're expending a lot of energy sort of trying to keep it together during the day. You are very, very, very anxious. You are an excessive worrier. You are tense. That's sort of the word that would be to describe you. Pretty disturbed sleep. But, you know,
Yeah.
okay, I was going to
I
say
heard
that.
was disturbed.
But I was going to say that may actually come from, you know, the hours that you keep. You know, how
it's always been that way.
But yeah, not a great sleeper. Because you're like subjective stress, meaning the stress that you acknowledge within yourself is already kind of so high, decisions and disappointments are felt really intensely for you. So like, again, because you're sort of already running on edge, if a small thing happens, like you go out to the parking lot and you see a parking ticket, you're going to respond much more intensely than these other three gentlemen might.
I don't. Okay, I believe that.
Again, this isn't a crystal ball. I mean, it's
Right.
not every single thing is going to be perfect. But
So far, so good.
But I would say that your anxiety is running like close to the level of panic. You sort of chronically feel stressed out, a strong sense of dread and vulnerability, you know, that you could be harmed, you could be hurt, taken advantage of, something bad could happen.
Well, that's the paranoia thing.
Right. So,
Again, not looking out the window for little green men, but just, you know.
Exactly. Like something terrible is going to happen. But yeah, very, very cautious, very guarded, very on edge. Almost the sense that the feeling like you could go to pieces easily. That was sort of the phrase that came up to me. One of the things that actually is kind of considered an asset or a strength is that you don't feel this huge need to conceal your worry. Some people do, you know, sort of like, hey, I'm anxious and I don't want anybody to know about it. And that is really taxing on people to kind of feel like they have to constantly hide something.
I'm somebody that will let you know.
Yep.
How I'm feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. You
Yeah.
do, and a very and I'm not joking around. You guys can attest to this. How many times has he come to us and said, well, that the show today, it was good, right? It was good, right? Like, it's not like you're trying to justify it to us, but you're genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say that you're not doing that like for attention seeking like some people do. Some people, you know, sort of put it all out there because they need attention. You're not. Yours is because of genuine worry. Mm-hmm. And like I said in the beginning, just not great coping resources, like not being able to kind of manage that anxiety. So some words that sort of came out as describing your personality is irritable, volatile, a very low frustration tolerance.
Yes.
So,
And those are just the ones that we submitted.
You are spot on this.
and if you feel,
Just so you guys know, the test works.
Is this what you're saying basically? Is it also kind of I guess what I'm trying to say is, does it lead to him not taking not direction but criticism very well?
absolutely, yeah, 100%. So, and that's going to come from a couple of things. One is, you know, when people have a slightly more egocentric viewpoint, then they're not going to take that feedback well and say, maybe Tony's right. Maybe I should change something. They're going to say, well, Tony doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. They're going to see it as somebody else needs to change. Somebody else is responsible for that. So the other thing, Scott, is that when you feel sort of constrained or stressed out by external circumstances, you're going to kind of like almost resort to like nagging and teasing other people to kind of express your frustration instead of being able to come at it in like an assertive, effective way. So you may sort of resort to almost
Bullying.
I've been working with a bully. I've been working with the enemy.
Well, bully has such a strong. That's such a strong word. I mean, that's no, I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say it's bullying. It's ribbing.
Right. That's why I was saying like nagging and teasing. Those are the words I had written down in my notes. You would be viewed as stubborn and having a very high urgency to express what you're feeling. So like kind of can't keep it in, sort of like, here's what I'm feeling, here's what's going on, and you need to all know it.
Right.
So this very pressured urgency to get things done, to communicate, and you are really irritated if you have to wait. So
Yes.
yeah, like waiting in line.
Is this personal life or professional life or both?
It's everything.
Is everything together?
Yeah, that sort of came across in all of it.
Yeah, I don't like waiting in line.
Yeah, and I would say that you have this like desire to sort of get even with others who've wronged you. I don't know if you think that's true and where that comes from, but
Did you hear that?
I did. I did. Because I'm
Getting
curious.
even with those who have wronged me.
Because I'm curious about that, about the whole psychology of that. Because I feel like we've said this before. I think we both, or at least I know that
I'm always a guy that says, this will not stand.
Yeah, but I certainly have like a miscalibrated sense of justice and how the world should right itself and how justice should be there. But I don't feel like I necessarily like want to be the person that always hits my enemies with the justice, whatever. But you're saying that he has a particular.
Well, yeah, I would say like Moon, for you more just sort of see flat level injustice in the world, kind of like you're aware of it. You have this very cynical view of the world, whereas Scott's is a little bit more self-focused. His is like, hey, if somebody has wronged me, I want to retaliate. I want to get back.
Oh.
That may or may not be true.
Well, the nice thing is Tony likes getting back at people. Remember from his assessment.
Yes.
So you got your muscle right there.
All right, we got to take a break.
Is there anything in there about why he tries to set me on fire once a week?
Is treatment an option for him though?
So in my notes here, boy, I've got lots here. I would say treatment considerations. Scott's profile suggests that these people tend not to seek psychological treatment on their own. They're usually poor candidates for psychotherapy.
Yeah.
They usually resist
Not because they don't need it.
Correct.
I don't need treatment.
Because they think
There
they
it
don't
is.
need it.
No,
There it is, folks.
In fact, addressing the anxiety and frustration tolerance would actually be great interventions. But usually these people resist psychological interpretation. They kind of tend to argue with others, and they tend to rationalize or blame other people for their problems. So it's tough to engage them in treatment.
Shaking his head.
All this is not surprising.
Are you disagreeing with any of it at all?
No, not at all.
Is anybody bummed out about themselves?
No.
No.
Because it's all stuff I knew. And now it's out there. Y'all know now. We're open books. This is us.
I think somebody could have probably.
I feel naked.
I think somebody probably could have given your assessment without that test.
Well, this just validates it.
Yeah, this definitely validates.
Validates
it.
That's some way bigger stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm saying
Way
like on the
bigger
surface,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, and in the interest of time, I mean, this could go on and
Oh,
on and
yeah.
on. There's lots here. But you're a little bit more depressed than maybe you're letting on at times, I would say. Sometimes kind of a low morale as well.
I don't think he's ever hit the piano on himself. Technically, it's not, but I mean, the closest it's gonna get.
And do you feel sort of alienated and estranged from other people, like a little bit?
Of course.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Expound
I
on
do.
that, Rizz.
Very suspicious of the actions of others, and tending to even blame them for your negative frame of mind. So when you're down, it's not like, hey, I'm down
somebody
because,
else's fault.
right.
That's it.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
almost.
do you see that sign up there? It says
That's a quote that Rizz said and meant, by the way.
Yeah, in pretty
It
heated
makes
language.
sense
Yeah.
because I said it. I like that. That's
You
good.
know, just add that to your paperwork.
There
if
you
want to
go.
just
All right,
write that down.
we have to take a break, and I gotta thank you for doing this assessment.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We got to take a. What's it? It's already 9:33. Well, and we can go on for 2 hours, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, I still have many pages here,
Oh my God.
but yeah,
Just on you, too, which is
I
I'll
know,
say
it's
whatever
crazy.
you guys want.
And again, we can go on, and I really appreciate the hour you spent assessing us psychos. Are we psychos? In summation,
I say yes.
I don't use that term.
okay, good. That's all I wanted to hear.
I don't use that term a lot.